Hello, Kelly Cougars, and welcome to week 2 of your online library classroom. This week, we are going to start learning about picking a just right book, something I like to call the Goldilocks rule. This book is just right. What do you already know about the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? For those of you who were at Kelly last year, you may remember studying a few different versions of this famous fairy tale. If you weren't at Kelly last year, maybe you have heard of the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And if you haven't, listen carefully for the answers to the questions below in our read aloud coming up next. Why did Goldilocks like Baby Bear's porridge, chair, and bed so much? What did Goldilocks say every time she used Baby Bear's stuff? Now, you may have heard of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but have you heard of Goldie Socks and the Three Librarians? And yes, normally we're called librarians, but in this story, they are called librarians. Let's see if you can find out why. Goldie Socks and the Three Librarians by Jackie Mims Hopkins, illustrated by John Manders. Here's our title page, Goldie Socks and the Three Librarians. And the dedication page, for my Aunt Kathy, who still loves to read in book tense. Me too. And for my friend Julie Cohen, who knows how to find books that are just right. Thank you to Melanie Scales and her son Will, who were there when Goldie's spark began. Once upon a time, nestled deep in an enchanted forest, there lived a book-loving bear family. Papa Bear was a public librarian. Mama Bear was a school librarian, and their son, Baby Bear, was a librarian in training at the Grizzly Preschool. One morning, a little girl named Goldie Socks was on her way to school. Goldie Socks usually walked along the road, but this day, since she was running particularly late, she decided to take a shortcut through the forest. By and by, Goldie Socks came upon an astonishing sight. There, in the middle of the forest, she saw a cottage that appeared to be made of books. Goldie Socks loved books more than bears love honey, so she went up to the house for a closer look. She knocked on the door, and to her surprise, it creaked open. What do you think she's going to do? Cautiously, Goldie Socks peeked inside. Shelves and shelves of wondrous books lined the walls. She called out to see if anyone was home, but no one answered. Goldie Socks knew she shouldn't go in, but the temptation of all those books was more than she could bear. Once inside the cottage, Goldie Socks went straight to the shelves and began browsing through the books. The first book she pulled off the shelf was too big. In fact, it was so heavy it fell on the floor. Goldie Socks went to another shelf, but the book she took from the shelf was too little. So then she looked through some nonfiction books and found one that was just right. Goldie Socks wandered over to another shelf and opened up a chapter book. She used the five-finger rule to see if the book was too hard. She started with a closed fist. When she came to a word she couldn't read, she put up one finger. All five fingers went up while reading the first page of the book, so she knew that book was too hard for her. She tried another book, but it was too easy. Then she found a book of fairy tales, and it was just right. After she found several books that were just right for her, Goldie Socks began searching for the perfect place to read them. Goldie Socks looked around the room and spotted a big lazy bear recliner. She climbed up in the enormous chair and pushed back, but it went back too far. Do you have a special place you like to read? She surveyed the room again, and this time she spied a poofy couch with lots of pillows. Goldie Socks sprang into the air and landed smack dab in the middle of the couch. Pillows flew everywhere. The couch was too squishy. Maybe there is a comfy place upstairs, she thought. When Goldie Socks reached the top of the stairs, she saw a tent made out of a blanket. She crawled inside the cozy tent, opened the book of fairy tales, and began reading. Yes, this place was, say it with me, just right. Around noon, the three librarians came home for lunch. Papa Librarian immediately noticed one of his books on the floor. "Somebody's been looking at my big books and left one on the floor," he said. Then Mama Librarian said, "Somebody's been looking at my books and put one back on the shelf with the pages showing instead of the spine." Then Baby Librarian said, "Somebody's been looking at my nonfiction books and one is gone." What will happen next? Papa Librarian looked around at another shelf and said, "Somebody's been looking at my hard books and left one on the top shelf." "Somebody's been looking at my easy books and put one back on the shelf upside down," said Mama Librarian. Then Baby Librarian said, "Somebody's been looking at my fairy tale books and one is gone." Papa Librarian saw that his favorite chair was not in the same position that he had left it. "Somebody's been sitting in my recliner and left it pushed back," he said. Then Mama Librarian said, "Somebody's been on my poofy couch and knocked all the pillows on the floor." The three librarians crept up the stairs. When they got to the top, Baby Librarian said, "Somebody's been in my cozy reading tent, and there she is." Goldie Socks looked up from her book and saw the big sharp teeth of the three librarians. Smiling at her. A toothy smile. Papa, Mama, and Baby Librarian joined Goldie Socks in the tent. Papa Librarian read a story to everyone, and it was just right. The end. Now, stay tuned for your activity. This week, I am going to ask each and every one of you to practice the 5-finger rule. One way to memorize the steps is in a song. This song is sung to the tune of Yankee Doodle. Here's the way I choose a book. I count upon my fingers. See a word I cannot read. My fingers keep a record. Miss a word that counts for 1. Skip it and keep reading. Miss the next word, finger up. At 5, I'll choose another. One more time. Here's the way I choose a book. I count upon my fingers. See a word I cannot read. My fingers keep a record. Miss a word that counts for 1. Skip it and keep reading. Miss the next word, finger up. At 5, I'll choose another. So, before you decide if a book is just right for you, stop and think. Step 1. Think about what you like to read and what you are reading for. Are you reading for fun or for homework or both? What do you like to read? Fairy tales? True stories? Find out what the books you are looking at are about. There's a couple ways to do that. The title of the book and the front cover, which may have a picture, can give you a clue about what a story is about or what information you will find in a book. But don't judge a book by its cover. Look at the back cover too. Often, there is a summary or a short commercial that tells you a little bit about what is inside the book. Read the back cover to get a clue about what is happening inside that book. You can also look on the inside of the front cover for a summary as well. Some books have what's called a verso or tiny writing page. You can read that tiny writing and get a clue about what is in a book that way too. Just to review, how long is the book? How many pages? That might determine if a book is just right for you. Look at the title. Look at the back cover, the inside cover, and the tiny writing page for summaries or short commercials about the book. Look at the pictures. Is this a book you want now, or could it go on a list to read later? The Goldilocks rule. Is this book just right for you? In case singing is not your thing, I've included a poster of the 5-finger rule. Pick a book and open it to any page. Start reading the page. Hold up 1 finger for every word you don't know. 0 or 1 word per page that you do not know, the book is too easy. 4 or 5 words per page that you do not know, the book is too hard. Try reading it with a buddy. 2 or 3 words per page that you do not know, the book is just right. So, your activity for this week, find or make a just right place to read. Maybe you would like to make a reading tent. Pick a few books at your house. Read the title of your books. Does the title sound interesting to you? Do you think you will like it? How many pages are there? Read the back cover, inside cover, or tiny writing page if there is one. Does the summary sound interesting to you? Would you want to read this book today? If not, would it go on a list of books to read later? Does this book have any pictures? Do they interest you? Once you find a book that sounds interesting to you, practice the 5-finger rule, just like Goldie Socks did in our read aloud. When you're finished, share a picture of the just right books you read and your special reading place, or share the title of the Just Right books you found and read, and describe your reading place by typing your answer in a post, or by making a short video with the same information. Post in the Library Seesaw Journal for this week's activity. Until next time, Kelly Cougars.